recognise it? One of those Russian dolls, Nestling dolls, Matryoshka or Babushka, various names they had. And when you open it, inside was another doll, very similar but just a little bit smaller. And inside that was, and so on. So here's the whole family all laid out. She goes there, and then the great-great-grandmother goes there. Lovely set. I picked it up in Nuremberg about 20 years ago. Beautifully made. Look at the smallest one, absolutely minute. They're not always dolls, they can be, but I've got other ones which, for instance, are shaped like cylinders. This lot here made by a wonderful German artisan, sat in along with us, Cornelius Wrench, are a set of about 10 cylinders, extremely well made, turned out in the wood lathe. It's almost paper thin, some of the wood cutting he did was astonishing, with a little gold ball in the very centre, which is a lovely idea. That was a few £100, very expensively made, but what a bit of craftsmanship that was. And then a few years later, a friend of mine found in England, I think at a craft fair, one of these, which is a nice set, quite, compared with Cornelius' work, quite crudely made, but it was very satisfying to see something with so many nestling inside each other. And of course they all fit into that large one there. It all fits into this one, it all fits into here, which makes it very easy to carry them around. So I do love these nestling dolls. I think the origin for this, for my enthusiasm for it, comes from my childhood, when my father gave the family, my mother I think it was, a large box at Christmas Day, about this size, and when he handed it over, my mother opened it, found lots and lots of tissue paper, unwrapped it, found a smaller box. We still were full of anticipation what it was going to be. But about the third or fourth box later, we had this feeling of more and more excitement, what was inside, and more disappointment, because whatever it was getting smaller. And my dad didn't let us down. The last little bit was, I think, a scrubbing brush or a Christmas tangerine or something. That's a good joke. But it's always given me a yen for these nestling toys. There's one here I came across which is a very odd idea. I suppose I could call it a nestling toy. It's actually a set of spinning tops which nestle inside the mother top. There's the mother top on the outside. We set it spinning. I think the French made this version, but the Victorians also made them as well. And we set it spinning. Let's see what happens. Woo! All the babies inside. What a nice idea. Yes, it's sort of related to the Russian nestling doll. It's a set of babies inside a mother. I quite like that. I make a little rule of thumb. If I'm going to call it a nestling toy, it's got to have at least 3. So there's one here, for instance, which I include in this genre. It's a little toy car for small boys to play with, or girls. Open up, and there's, yes, you guessed it, another one inside. And inside that, yes, you guessed it, another one inside. Makes a nice set of 3. I did think of putting a larger one around that one and so on, but it's quite fun to leave it as it is, I think. And here's a rather strange one, which is a set of 4 nestlings with oldie-worldy maps, which were the idea that the medieval world have of how the Earth's axis looked like. And they nestle quite nicely. I think there's a set of 4, but they're all very quaint sort of artwork on it with suns on them as well. And there's the last one, I think. Again, it's got a little figure. It's made of wood, but quite a nice little set there. Another one which I made up myself was this a set of eggs. I think these came out of Germany in the 1850s originally, the Kettler Company. I see it in Nuremberg. But a set of eggs which I used to give my brother's family, big for my brother who's the father, and then the children all had smaller eggs inside. So I thought I'd make a little nestling set once just for a bit of fun and see how far we get. Well, that nestles inside that one, and that nestles inside that one. And there's another one here which nestles inside that one, and another one that is nestled inside that one. Look at that. And finally we reach the centre of the thing, and we find a little hollow chocolate egg. I was thinking the other day if we could possibly have a go at cutting the egg open and putting another hollow egg inside that one as well. I have tried, but it's very difficult to cut. It's such a thin shell thing. I have yet to succeed in doing it, but it's a fun thing. Now here's something which I made earlier. It's a book. Put it on your shelf, and it's one of those books you get from mail order companies. There's a book safe, so it hides a cavity in which you put jewellery or banknotes or deeds or something. I thought, hello, a cavity, a space. That means I can do some nestling. Sure enough, I found a book that fits exactly inside the cavity. And then I had a bit of fun one summer with a craft knife, cutting the book into pieces. Well, it does destroy the book, I'm afraid, but perhaps I don't want to learn too much what. And then here, this is a little flick book which I had a spare of. Inside that was a space for another book. And inside this finally was one more. Oh yes, this came from a dolls and furniture set, I think it was, playing cards. A set of Nestling books. Lovely idea, that. Another one I didn't make myself but I had made was Jack-in-the-Box. I have got a much bigger one which nestles 7 deep, I think it is. This one's about 3, but idea of a nestling Jack-in-the-Box appealed to me. Oops, his head's disappeared as well. Here we are. And he's holding a Jack-in-the-Box. So open it up and then up he pops, and he pops up there, and there's about 4 deep there. Lovely idea. Jack-in-the-Box, all inside the box, inside the box. Well, yes, bit of fun. Something I suppose just because it's a rule of 3, I counted as, it's actually a battery conversion kit. If you find in the house all you've got is a AA battery, this one here, then, and you wanted a D battery for your particular appliance or toy, you put it into this battery conversion kit, and it expands it up from the AA to the C battery to the D battery, and therefore the D battery. And the contacts are maintained. It actually carries electricity from the central one into the top one. So I call it a nestling gadget, I suppose you call it. There's another set which I made up myself many years ago, which is the wonderful magic rose cube that Valerie Van invented in 1996. This is a wonderful idea. You see something strange going on here. These are all actually the same thing. You take this and you do this action like this. You pull out a petal and you pull out the petal and you pull out the petals, and then you pull out the green leaves and you pull out a green leaf and you pull out another green leaf, and you get a rose cube. But I thought to myself at the time, hang on now, these are hollow cubes, so why don't we have a go at nestling them? So I made a complete set, which took me about 8 or 9 hours, I think it was, and got them to nestle inside each other, and then made a second set. One I gave and sent to Valerie as a thank you, and the others all fit inside. The trouble with this one is, whereas you can put these other ones together fairly quickly, this one takes a devil of a long time. In order to nestle this, you've got to close it up to start with, which that's a bit of that thing, but then you've got to partially disassemble this one in order to get the thing in, and to partially disassemble is quite tricky to do. It took me about 3 or 4 minutes for each one, I think it was, so it's just too long. That comes out of there. Ooh, and that comes out of there, and finally you've got a cavity inside, and into that goes there, and then you've got to reassemble it, and you've got to do it 9 more times. It takes me about half an hour. So it's not really feasible to do, but never mind. It was a fun thing to do, but eventually they all end up in a single rose cube at the end, which is a very nice and satisfying thing to do. And there's one more extraordinary idea I came across about 10 years ago. A friend of mine, Mark Cecil Ducati, found this wonderful very smart ladies handbag, which I think she'd go to a ball or the opera with it, because it's so beautiful. Look at the mechanism inside. It's beautiful. Open up like that. This is one of those little lazy tongs actions like that. Open up the bag inside. It's getting a bit rusty inside, so I'll put it in a... Then a year later, when he went back to the shop, he found another bag, and just by sheer coincidence, when he brought it back, he found it was smaller. So I thought, that's fun. Anyway, I kept the two together. But a year after that, he went back and he found yet another smaller one. And this was actually a purse. The smallest one of all was a purse, I think. There's the smallest one. Made a nice nestling set. So what do we have inside a silver bag? Well, we've got to have some silver coins, haven't we? Open it up. And there she goes. Wow. Fantastic. What can you make which nestles? There's so many ideas out there which I feel people could do things with, but it's a lovely pursuit, so have a go.